Welcome back to another episode of the Strength Log. My name is Philip Wildenstam. I'm a co-founder of Strength Log and a certified nutrition coach.
And I am Daniel Richter, CEO of Strength Log and a certified strength coach. And I'm feeling a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad. It's only been like a month of vacation for you and me.
For the listeners, there's been no vacation for the podcast.
We are professional like that.
Exactly. But if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that both Daniel and I have got some color in our faces.
Yeah, and we're going to turn more red and sweaty as this episode
still
progresses.
warm in Sweden.
So for those who don't know, we record these episodes with the podcast mainly in mind, meaning the audio listeners. But most of the episodes we also try and post either in their entirety or sections of it on YouTube, where we're also called Strength Log.
We're trying to form a habit of doing that, Daniel.
Yes, we are. And habits. That's the topic of today's episode. I like habits.
I do too, and it's been top of mind for almost 2 months for me right now, because I'm trying to form a new habit myself.
And which is that?
I'm trying to walk 10 kilometers per day, even on work days. So I need to adjust my life accordingly to be able to reach that goal daily.
So how many steps is that?
That's around 14,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I'm not exactly
Yeah, that
sure.
can take some deliberate choices and actions for someone who, has an office job and no dog.
And also for someone that weighs a lot. I'm like 290 pounds and I have arthritis in both my knees. So, but I've been walking all summer long. It's been great for me. And yes, I have pain in my knees, but I feel like a more refreshed human being. My whole body feels better from all this walking.
Walking is the shit.
Yeah, and
everything gets better from it.
And it's like I'm reaching new fitness goals. I'm slowly but steadily improving my cardio fitness, and things are looking up.
That is great.
I'm gonna live forever. Call me Brian Johnson.
It's funny how you kind of accidentally slip into those thoughts when you are improving your fitness levels.
It's so dumb.
Like everything is going up.
Yeah, and then I sit for, like yesterday, me and a friend were on my balcony for hours, smoking cigars, drinking bourbon. I'm gonna live forever.
But I do like habits.
Habits are the best.
Yeah, because they provide volume.
Yeah.
And a lot of things in life that you want to achieve, they need a big enough quantity of actions.
Yeah.
So it's not the single step or day that matters, but when you string them together, you can achieve really cool stuff. And we've been into both fitness and business for a long time, so we've seen this time and time again that when you set the right habits or do the right things repeatedly, cool stuff can happen. Just as like regularly publishing a podcast or regularly walking enough steps. And also for healthy behavior, which is going to be the topic of this episode and this podcast, I suppose. Or sort of healthy behavior in this podcast. A lot of the strength training might be excessive. But anyways, habits are key for healthy behaviors because a lot of things about our body requires that we do things in moderation, but kind of often.
Yeah.
We can't do like a super workout in the beginning of the month and then slack off for the rest of it. Same goes with diet. We need to have some kind of distribution for this healthy behavior and repeat it oftentimes daily or multiple times per day. And we're going to talk about a review in this episode, a systematic review and a meta-analysis of several studies. And in the introduction, it refers to a review that came out last year, which stated that for changing health behaviors, it is more effective to focus on habits or the behavior itself than focusing on knowledge or beliefs. So it's not as much about what you know, it's actually about what you do. Isn't that like Goethe? Knowing is not enough, we must apply.
Something.
Something, but in German.
He also said nice things about Madeline cookies. So eat more of those.
So the topic of today's episode is going to be, well, the new meta-analysis, but also how to form habits and how long it takes to form them. Specifically, how long it takes to form them was the goal or the question of this new meta-analysis coming in from Australia, mate. They found 20 different studies looking into this question and also looking into what determines how fast you can form a habit. So some cool stuff. And so also in the introduction of this new meta-analysis, they write about the common conception or a common belief that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. And it's not without some, let's say, bitterness that I that I sense in how they mention this conception, because really it doesn't seem to have much of a basis to it. It's kind of grabbed out of thin air, it seems. It stems from a book from the 1960 called Psycho-Cybernetics, which I haven't read, but
me
it sounds
neither.
funky.
It sounds really tinfoily.
Yeah. So the authors of this new review sought to see how long it takes to form a habit and what factors influence the time, and with a focus on health behaviors, because this is a health podcast or whatever, strength training podcast. So the different studies, the 20 different ones, they could have habits such as physical activity, drinking water, flossing, taking vitamins, a healthy diet, and this one was new to me, microwaving a dishcloth. Wasn't two of the studies.
It stood out.
Yeah. I mean, we usually wash them in the laundry.
At least you washed them. I just changed them out.
That's one of my pet peeves or OCDs, a smelly dishcloth.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. So yeah, apparently you can microwave them at full effect for 1 to 2 minutes, but it seems to me that you'll destroy the dishcloth if you do that. Yeah. I don't know.
This has zero to do with strength training, but I must explain to you that the dishcloths we have in Sweden are quite different from the ones they have in Australia or the US.
Okay.
We have the best dishcloths in the world.
You sound like Trump.
No, there's a food blog I've read for a decade plus called Serious Eats that have an evidence-based approach, just like us, and they've even written an article about why Americans should buy the Swedish dishcloths instead of using rags and stuff. So
it's also the most biodiverse thing in your house.
Yeah, probably.
But all right, so the authors, they found 20 relevant studies with a total of 2,600 participants. They didn't include studies on ceasing a non-healthy habit like quitting smoking. They also listed quitting social media use. That's a new one.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that 20 years ago. And also, defining a habit becomes important in this context. And they referred to having a high degree of automaticity, meaning where a behavior displays some or all of the following features: a lack of awareness, efficiency, uncontrollability, and unintentionality. So you're kind of automatically doing it, and it's not really hard anymore. Even if the habit in and of itself might have some degree of hardness, doing it still becomes fairly easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets more hard not to do the habit.
This is why I think
what
so many people fail when it comes to one of the things they mentioned, flossing. Because it's hard to floss without thinking that you're flossing. Because you're having your hands in your mouth. It's this is not automatic. This is horrible. It's a horrible experience. I'm only going to do it 2 weeks before I go to the dentist.
Yeah, but when you've done it for a while, you got some practice, maybe you can, start thinking about the weather or whatever.
No,
when you're
I'm
doing
thinking
it.
about the hands in my mouth. Moving on.
All right. So, getting into the results. Not too many of the studies necessarily reported how long it took to form the habits, but rather how strong the effect was and what helped determine it. But at least it seemed that we can reject the hard line of 21 days to form a habit. 4 different studies reported either the median or the mean times for habit formation. And the medians were around 60 days, 59 to 66 days. And the means were 100 to 150 days, meaning that we have some outliers taking many, many hundreds of days to form a habit, and thus distorting the average or the mean. So for most people, meaning the median, around 2 months led to a high degree of automaticity, but with a high individual variety, from 4 days up to 335 days. So there's probably lots of factors going into this, not in the least genetic factors.
Yeah, I would say that if you're a person that can form a new habit in 4 days, you're a genetic outlier.
Yeah, you just program it.
You're a computer.
Exactly. Nice. So they did spot some different determinants or patterns to which habits formed more quickly, and how, like which interventions or which ways to go about forming the habit were more successful. And one of the things that stood out was that morning habits, practicing the habit in the morning, was more effective than in the evening. And the whole 5 a.m. club just loves this.
Yeah. Me included.
But there is something to this.
There's a lot to it, because when you tell yourself, you program yourself to do something first thing in the morning and you get it over with, then you can't skip it later in the day. When you're more tired, you're more distracted, more things going on. You wake up a bit earlier, and sure, if you're a person that sleeps through your alarm clock regularly, it's going to be hard for you to do this. But if you can force yourself to go up to do something earlier in the morning and then do your whole daily routine of working or your kids and stuff like that, it's going to be way easier, in my opinion, to get it.
I think so too. I suspect that it's not specifically the time of day, maybe, but it has it connects with many of the other things in this list of determinants, one being a stable context. So they say that habits formed in a stable, consistent environment are more likely to become automatic. And your morning is often fairly stable, or the same things happen every day, more or less. I mean, it can vary if you have kids, maybe, but even then you tend to get into a schedule. So your mornings are often a stable context, making planning easier. And it also ties in with another determinant, which is self-implementation planning, or whatever the technical term is, meaning that you are planning to do something, and if you want to do something early in the morning, you most often need to plan doing so, like taking out your workout clothes or planning the time to get up to do whatever your habit is going to be. So that can also help and might explain why morning practices are good.
But it's also very liberating to have it out of the way. It frees you up for whatever might happen. A friend texting you, let's go out for beers. No, I can't. I need to do this thing. But instead you're like, yes, I'm free. I've already done the things I had on my to-do list. It's perfect.
I love it. Do your homework first and then play.
Exactly.
Eat the vegetables in the morning. Figuratively or literally.
Go out for beers at 5 a.m.
Yeah, so morning practice and then stable context was helpful. Another thing was to inject or insert your new habit into a pre-existing routine. Once again, we can see how doing something in the morning helps here. So inserting the habit into something that you already do. And for me, working from home, it's been interesting to see how brushing the teeth can be like a cue in this case, because normally like brushing the teeth comes within your routine of getting dressed and then leaving your house, going out the door. But if you work from home and you don't have those milestones, it becomes more loosely just like floating in the middle of the day. You need to do it sometime in the morning, but when?
Yeah.
So that's been interesting to see. Now I've hanged that habit personally to brushing the teeth while all the kids are doing it. So that's my cue and inserting it.
You're just a big kid, Daniel.
Yeah, but I wonder how teeth brushing was affected during COVID, during the lockdowns. My guess is that it's plummeted.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah. Another example that I came to think of is for someone who needs to get more protein in their day. It's probably a lot easier to just have a protein shake after their training than just gradually eating more protein throughout the day. So just stacking that habit or hooking it onto something else, hitching it onto something else. Okay, moving on down the list. Self-selected habits, when the participants had like a menu of habits to choose from, they were more successful than those that were assigned without the participant's choice. Sounds reasonable?
Very.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to quantify, but I think that the people able to make these positive changes in their life, going from being a grown adult who hasn't trained for decades, perhaps, that can be quite a long process where you're like negotiating with yourself until you finally reach that point where you feel like, I have chosen to become a training person. And if someone were to, you need to train like a doctor or something after a visit, they are like, you need to get in better shape, you need to train. Then it doesn't feel like you have decided to do it yourself. But maybe 4 months later, the doctor's words have tumbled around in your brain for long enough that you start to believe that this is something you want. And that's a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see examples of this in, say, the work life, especially, or probably especially among entrepreneurs who work hard, but it's self-selected work, or just things that as a hobby, or that can be a hobby, but that can also be hard manual labor, like gardening, if it's self-selected versus being something you're assigned to do.
Yeah.
Of course, the magnitude of work varies between those. But anyways, so another factor was motivation. Personal motivation was a beneficial factor, not too shocking, ties in with the formal one of self-selection. And like the grander scope of this, I think, is called self-determination theory, meaning that if you are in control, you are autonomous, then we tend to appreciate that as humans, being in control. And the final one that if I interpret it correctly, they didn't necessarily see a lot of support for it in the study, but I believe this could be a very strong factor, and that was the social factor, meaning a supportive social and environmental network can help, I guess can help immensely, but it wasn't really looked at in these studies. But I mean, imagine if your entire family does a thing or your entire workplace does a thing. It's going to be a lot easier to go along with that, in contrast to maybe you being the odd bird out and not doing something. Of course. In Sweden, we have this thing called fika, where you have coffee and a cake in the afternoon in many of the offices. And among fitness-interested people, this is such a common conflict or dilemma, because you don't want to be asocial and like not be part of the gang, but also you might not want to eat cake every day because of your other fitness goals.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah,
but just have a cup of coffee. Sit along, have a nice chat with your colleagues. You don't have to eat the cinnamon roll or a slice of princess cake or something like that. You don't have to. And you don't have to. So you don't have to be annoyed at your colleagues asking you why you don't have a piece of cake. Just explain it to them. You're trying to get into shape. You don't need to be embarrassed.
Say that I don't want to be like you.
Yeah, you fatso.
But just imagine the contrast if your entire workplace has a fruit instead at that point in time. It's going to be so much easier for you to.
Yeah, but I also think that's in conflict, because we see a lot of that at workplaces. Like now everybody's going to be in a walking steps competition for a month or something.
That's a trend here in Sweden.
Then that's forced upon you. You haven't decided on it. So it goes against everything we've talked about so far in terms of creating a good, healthy habit, because you're not in control. This is something your stupid, ugly, fat boss wants you to do.
Precisely. And we do see more rebellion against those kind of challenges. Even people who are into fitness might get annoyed by it.
Yeah. My wife had a colleague that was like a marathon runner or something. And I think everybody at the workplace during one of those periods hated her. Because she when people were struggling to get 10,000 steps in, she was like, I had 60,000 steps yesterday.
Yeah, fuck you too.
Oh,
So, final point. There was a pattern, they write, for simpler, repetitive behaviors with clear cues and immediate rewards to show large effects of habit formation, while the more complex behaviors, such as regular healthy eating and physical activity, showed somewhat smaller effects. And this seems reasonable. I mean, physical activity, that can be a really complex activity. You need to set time aside maybe to go to the gym if that's where you work out, plan everything and plan your schedule around it, compared to, well, just flossing before or after you brush your teeth. I don't know which order you're supposed to do it. I don't floss.
I'm a bit confused because I've tried flossing. It's not for me. I wouldn't argue that I see immediate rewards from flossing.
Yeah, no.
But physical activity. When I started strength training and I started tracking in my old notebook with a pen and paper, I started tracking my lifts and I saw I'm stronger this week than I was last. That was immediate gratification.
But not immediate as in the first workouts.
No.
Those are uncomfortable.
That
And
was
healthy
painful.
eating is definitely not immediate.
That one sucks.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Having the apple instead of the princess cake.
Yeah. Sure.
Who even knows, man, if it makes a difference? So, okay, just to tie it up kind of, we might ask the question, is it effective to focus on habits? And in the conclusion, they write that overall, interventions focusing on changing habits, they were highly effective. The order of difference, or the magnitude of difference in the participants' behavior was high overall. Sure, some people didn't successfully form habits. Maybe they should try approaching them in another way. But generally, this was very effective. So if we contrast that with just focusing on information and getting knowledge out to the people compared to just helping them form new habits, this seems to be more powerful. Yeah.
We haven't discussed it much, but I think one of the main issues when people want to create a new healthy habit, they might not even consider it a habit. They have a goal. They want to weigh less. They want to be healthier. They want to feel better. It's just setting unreasonable goals for yourself. You're setting yourself up to fail. It's like, I weigh 140 kilos now. I want to weigh 80 kilos next summer. It's like, dude, that's too much, too fast. You're just gonna, the first time the scale doesn't show you've lost another kilo, you're just gonna feel like a loser and give up. Maybe.
Yeah. Don't let huge goals derail your entire success. Instead, just focus on the small wins.
Yeah.
I'm also practicing some habits right now. I started my vacation with being sick for 2 weeks. First I had a fever and then some kind of stomach bug. So I was out for 2 weeks with practically no training and had to build up gradually, which I did first. And then I felt like keeping that momentum going and doing some kind of a daily practice to get back in shape. So I started 2 fitness-related habits. One was it's been kind of a trendy thing the last few years, running a mile a day, meaning the imperial mile, so 1.6K. Running at least 1 mile every day, and I often hover around that. I'm also a heavy guy as running goes, but I'm starting to sense that I can gradually increase it. But anyway, getting that in, and also doing some kind of full body strength training routine. There is this popular program called Easy Strength. I wouldn't necessarily say that Dan John is the originator of it, but it definitely has popularized it. So it's basically that you do a few full body lifts every day, and you're not, since you're training every day, you're not supposed to really take the sets to failure. You're more like practicing the lifts, so to say, not really struggling. So I've also been doing that, and I've done so for 3 weeks now. I recently had to break my streak because we went on a mini vacation for 3 days, but really starting to enjoy it. And the Easy Strength protocol is supposed to be 40 workouts, which I'll probably do and then switch back into something more normal as strength training goes. But I'm enjoying that, and I'm enjoying my mile a day of running or slow jogging.
Are you using the new streak feature in our app for it?
I am. I was going to get to that. So we do have the streak feature in the app where you can either like just manually check off streaks or habits that you entered, or have them automatically look into your training log to see if you've done 10 push-ups or whatever if you want to do every day. So I check off that every day, the running and the strength training. And I also have entered the habit of practicing the guitar for 5 minutes, or at least 5 minutes every day.
That's a cool thing about the manual check-off streaks. You can basically enter anything in there, even though it's a strength training app. I'm thinking about starting a flossing streak.
Yeah, I just want to make an amend here that if my dentist is listening, of course I do floss. I can't stop.
I'm proud of you even having a dentist. I've been in between dentists for 10 years now, so
yeah.
Yeah,
no, so that's a cool thing. And I mean, you can set the notifications or reminders when you want to, and if you know yourself a bit, you can think about, okay, when am I likely to do these things? Then you can place the reminders at good times during the day. And once again, try to work it into pre-existing routines. Like if you always know that you have a lull during your afternoon that in which a habit would fit, then use that. So yeah, that's in the app Strength Log, which is also pretty good at tracking your strength training in.
Pretty good. Speaking of Australia, we have a lot of listeners and app users in Australia. I've been mailing a lot with Australia these past few weeks when I'm taking care of our support channels because our colleague is on vacation. So shout out to Australia. Thank you for this fun little meta-analysis review thingamajig. And thank you for listening to the pod.
Yeah, and we'll catch you next week.
Train hard, eat well, die anyway.